Welcome to another edition of the Devy Delight, brought to you by expandtheboxscore.com. That's where I would have stopped it, rewound it, and be like, all right, Stoops, let's try this again. But hey, we can't do that anymore. We're live.
Yep.
But on today's episode, we are going to talk about the first 3 rounds of the draft. We're going to talk about the landing spots that we did like. And then, of course, we're going to unveil our top 24 rookie rankings just off of our initial impression from last night. There was a lot that happened to kind of marinate on overnight, and that's kind of what Stoops and I wanted to do, and then kind of give you our rankings today. As always, I'm joined by Stoops. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm more tired than usual. I told you before we started recording. The past 2 days, I've woke up 2 minutes before my alarm goes off. Not 5-10 minutes, like literally 2 minutes. So it's kind of frustrating, but I've had a blast with it. I always watch the NFL draft, but this is a little bit different. We're looking at it in a different way. So I'm enjoying that and excited to – we haven't shared these with each other. So
No.
we don't know who has what player and what position, what slot. So that's going to be interesting to see. So excited to see what you've got. You told me not to make fun of you, but I told you I couldn't make any promises. You would just make fun of me, I'm sure. So
hey,
we're just going to pick at each other for it. And then get picked up by others. And then it's just a big thing.
It's just a big trickle-down effect, right?
Yeah.
So that's the plan for Stoops and I. Stoops and I have not seen each other's rankings. We really wanted to go into the show blind, I guess you could say. And
that's what we do with our positional rankings. So
well, yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty stoked to see what today has in store for us ranking wise and stuff like that. But initial thoughts before we dive into those from yesterday.
There was some spots that like I'm just gonna like the Raiders. It's almost like they're doing what Cardinals. What the Cardinals did, a couple where it was just like, let's just take a bunch of receivers. Some of them have to hit, and let's hope it works. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The receivers, I think the Raiders took a little bit higher end, a little bit higher profile. So I think it might hit a little bit better, but that was kind of something that stood out to me. And then obviously there was a couple guys that fell offensively and defensively that we thought might go a little bit higher. So overall, we talked about it Thursday, Thursday, whenever we were live during the first round, where the first 7, 8, 9 picks, it went pretty much how we expected it to. And then there was some shakeups, some different players going to different positions. But overall, I would say interesting landing spots for a couple guys. And there's a couple guys that I was really, really high on that now I'm kind of thinking about it a little bit more, and I'm not too sure. And I don't know if you saw it. And I think you even said it about CeeDee Lamb going to Dallas, how that pick was basically so Philly couldn't get their guy. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, they ended up with someone pretty awesome anyway, but it came out, and I can't remember if it's an official report, but it doesn't matter. But it basically said the same thing, where it's just like Dallas, essentially they made the pick so one of their rivals couldn't get their guy because they weren't able to make that trade up and get the person. So it's interesting how that all works out, but overall, pretty enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's a couple of crazy ones. Just Jalen Hurts to the Eagles. That was weird. Stoops and I literally waited almost 5 hours last night to hear, Adam Troutman's name, and then Troutman. In my personal opinion, offensively wise, I think he's by far the steal of the draft where he was drafted at. And not just that, man, like where he landed was that was beautiful. I mean, he gets to play with Breeze this year. I know they still have Cook there, but after this year, Cook could, more or less be gone. His contract isn't that deep, but I'm rather excited to talk about these guys. I'm really, really interested to see where this goes for you and I. But let me go ahead and set up this.
Well, and the interesting thing, so I looked up a couple, because how I told you off the air, one thing I really want to start looking more into are player contracts, because that does play a big factor into who drafts what player, or potentially, and when they can see their opportunities. The Jared Cook contract, so I went through and just looked at dead cap. I didn't look at whatever, right? So obviously he's on the roster this year, but it was basically $4 million $4 million in dead cap if he were to have been cut this year type of thing, which we know that's not going to happen. But next year it showed $2 million, but then it said 2021 contract automatically voided and it was crossed out. So to me, that almost means like something got restructured to where essentially he's a free agent after this season.
Right.
So it essentially could mean that, you know, if I'm understanding that correctly, that Troutman could be the guy next year. But then we also got to think like, and I don't remember what Breeze's contract. I'm not sure if he was up after this year, if he got a 2-year deal, or I don't remember how it all went down. But nonetheless, it's like, how much longer does he have, you know?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, currently, even with Cook there, I like that landing spot. I like that a lot.
Yeah, for me, I like the fit there because of Peyton as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless Peyton leaves with Breeze, which I don't foresee that happening. I do like the fit with Peyton. I think that him and Peyton will be able to work some magic together. All right, folks. So what we're gonna do is Stoops is gonna unveil his 24. I'm gonna unveil my 24, and we're gonna go all the way up to 1. And then, like we've said already, we have not revealed these to each other yet. So, Stoops, oops, that just got rid of us here. All right, there we go. All right, Stoops, I'm going to let you kick it off, my man. Of course I am. I mean,
all right. So where am I at? I'm over here. This is my thing. All right. So 24, I'm going to copy.
Oh man, I should have probably done that, huh?
Paste. Oh, I got to fix my thing here because you know how I am with Excel. I got to have my lines even. No, I went with De'Aaron Evans going to Tennessee. I like that landing spot. I think because obviously Derrick Henry, he's got the they gave him the franchise tag. So he's there this year, right? Which is fine. Will they get a deal done, you know, for another 2-3 years after the season before next year? Possibly. But I think that Evans can come in and be a very good complimentary back. Definitely going to take, you know, the Dion Lewis role. I think he's going to definitely help in the pass game because that's one thing. Yeah, Derrick Henry can catch the ball. Not saying he can't, but I think Evans is going to come in and really start to fill that role. I like it, though. I like him going to Tennessee. I think it can be a good fit. Definitely going to be interesting to see what they do because obviously when they started getting on their roll, it was let's run the ball 45 times a game and throw it 8. And people knew that was going to happen.
Yep.
But it's Derrick Henry, right? He got into that rhythm and he's 6'2", 6'3", 240. You know what I mean? So, but at what point? At some point, it's going to wear on him. I guess you could say like he's a human being. So, nonetheless, I went with Evans at 24. I like that spot.
I can't spell. Yep, still can't spell. This is going to be bad. I didn't do what you did, which I realized that you probably wrote yours down. And
I did. I have it all right there. So I'm just going to highlight it, copy, paste, and move on.
All right. I didn't do that.
That's okay.
My number 24 is Antonio Gibson, running back receiver. I put whatever you want to put him. Some places have him as one, some places have him as another. The running back situation, obviously, in Washington there's about 75 running backs there, but I'm not really concerned with that. I do think that Riviera went into this draft looking for somebody that he can utilize the same way that they did CMC. By no far saying that Antonio Gibson is going to be CMC. I promise you that, guys. But what I'm trying to say is I truly like what this pick is going to do for them. Look, the guys that they have on their roster as a collective whole, it's not like Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
Guys, he's always getting hurt. I'm trying to remember some of the other guys that they have, but they have like 6 or 7 running backs right now. And I'm not a big fan of really any of their guys. Long term, I think Gibson can kind of fit into their offense as just that utilized back all over the football field. And once some of these guys dry up and get off the team, I really do think that Gibson could have some fantasy football value moving forward. So hit me with your number 23.
My number 20, and I got him at 26, so we weren't too far off. So I'll say that. We weren't too far off on that one. But my 23 is from a team that I was talking about earlier. I got Bryan Edwards going to the Raiders. I think he's a good fit. He's a guy that I was higher on than a lot of people who he's kind of trickled down, right? He ended the season last year with a little bit of an injury. I think he's a stud. I think he's going to come in, and you've even said it, right? Raiders got to score points. They got to They got to score about 50 points a game to maybe get a win, not literally, but they got to get some offensive firepower. And they were, in my opinion, shorter on the wide receiver part of things. I think they definitely filled the void in this draft. So Bryan Edwards is the guy that I went with at 23.
He's one of those guys last night that I teeter-totted with, like, I don't know, 15 times. I didn't know what to do with him. You know what I mean? I like the idea. I like his landing spot. I think that he is a good receiver. I bought him a little bit more because you bought him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of bought into what you were saying about him. I don't know. There's just so many mouths to feed out there. You know what I mean? Even with Williams, the contract I think is they could cut him after this year. But you still have Ruggs. I don't know. It's just, and the Waller. But at the flip side of it, like I said, they're going to have to throw the ball. But I meant to say this earlier, but the Raiders kind of did the same thing that the Broncos did. The Broncos did this, they both did. With Hamler being drafted, by the Broncos in the second round, you have Judy and Hamler, both talented guys. Obviously, the Raiders took it a step ahead by going Edwards, Ruggs, and then of course they drafted, Bowden as well. But still, that's crazy to me. Coming in at number 23 for me is Mr. Van Jefferson out of the Los Angeles Rams. This pick to me is, I'm still 50-50 on it. I don't know how much fantasy value you're going to have out of Van Jefferson. I know Stoops last night pointed out to me that, when healthy, the Rams produce 3 top 30 wide receivers. For me, it's I've got to see more out of Goff. But if I saw more out of Goff last year, this probably would have been higher because I got rid of Cooks. But for me right now, this is where I have Van Jefferson.
I like it, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So we are pretty close on him. Oh. I got him at 22. So I'm kind of – so I like him. I like the landing spot. I know you like Van Jefferson as well. I'm not as concerned with the too many mouths to feed per se. Obviously, it does become an issue, right? But at the same time, if they – and I will say this. Whenever they did that, like Gurley was Gurley, right? That's whenever he was taking the focal point off of – or I should say this. He was very involved in the passing game. So defenses had to plan for that because it's like, okay, cool. Let's guard Cooks, Woods, and Kupp, right? Well, then you're just going to give it to Gurley. So, you know what I mean? So I definitely understand that piece. He's gone. Obviously, there's some other pieces in there. So I think they're going to have to come up with some wrinkles. But I think Jefferson can find a role. It's just going to be interesting to see how they use him because I think Josh Reynolds is going to be a guy that really does start to be more of a focal point. So it's almost interesting. Are they going Josh Reynolds or Van Jefferson? You know what I mean? And I think Reynolds is going to be the one that really does get that opportunity, and Jefferson's going to be more of a depth piece. But yeah, we were very close on him. I went 22, you went 23. So
yeah, I agree with you 100% there. I think there's the possibility there to for growth, right? Mm-hmm. That's where I think the biggest thing for me. At the 22 slot, I couldn't help myself, to be honest with you. I went Adam Troutman with the Saints. This to me is obviously more of a long-term play. I just like his ability to make plays. I think that I genuinely feel like he's going to have 7 or 8 touchdowns this year. Cook has problems staying on the field. Cook has a problem dropping the ball. And I think once they realize what they have in Troutman, I really think that they're gonna move him into that offense into a bigger lane. I know Breeze they throw the ball 40 times a game, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They throw the ball a lot. And if this is Drew Brees' swan song, they're gonna try to take this team to the championship. And I really feel like this is a great landing spot for him. And yeah, that's why Troutman slides into my number 22.
I like it. This next one for me is a guy that I was really high on, coming out of college, not necessarily one of my top tiered guys per se, but I was a big fan of his production. Devin Duvernay going to the Ravens. I like it. They need some help in the receiving game, right? I think and I hope that Lamar starts to make I don't want to call it a transition, but I hope he starts to throw it a little bit more. I think he's so good at running the ball that I think how do I say that? I'm not saying I missed my first read, I'm going to run. He's not that, right? I think he does look for it, but I think he was just lacking some offensive weapons, and that's my honest opinion about that. My only thing is, and I said it to you, to me, like Devin Duvernay is like Hollywood Brown, but slower, right? He's a more physical receiver, in my opinion. Devin Duvernay is.
Yeah.
I think it's going to help, but they don't have that big body guy. I mean, they're both like Duvernay was, I think, 5'10", and I think Brown is about 5'9", 5'8", 5'10" range. You know, they're all about that same height. So it's going to be interesting to see how they involve him in the offense. But I like the spot. They need some talent on that wide receiver core. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes out. But I got him at 21.
Yeah, I didn't really love that. I don't know what it is. I'm kind of in that same boat with you. I'm cautiously optimistic about that quarterback situation. Not that I'm saying Lamar Jackson's bad either. Like, don't take that as what we're trying to say right now, right? We're definitely not trying to say that. I'm optimistic about receivers and their landing spot. Their landing spot there, right?
Exactly.
Sliding into number 21 for me. I'm just gonna go ahead and steal it from your side. I had Evans at 21. I like this spot for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Question marks surrounding this year. What is Henry going to do? Will Henry be in Tennessee? It's quite possibly he can, but he's a complimentary back, like you said.
Yep.
You know, he's somebody that is going to play the role of Dion Lewis. But I also feel like he's got the ability to really hone in and not take snaps away from Henry, but I really feel like he has the ability to give Henry that rest that he needs, right? You know, he touched the ball almost 400 times last year, and I really feel like Evans can really come in there. Even if he touches the ball 75, 100 times next year, that's worthy enough of being on your roster and in a nice little spot. The Titans run the ball too, right?
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's just how it is. I mean, the Titans do a lot of running the ball. I think Dion Lewis's inability to really add anything to that offense last year kind of hindered them taking Henry off the field a whole lot last year. Because, I mean, obviously you never want to take him off the field because of what he does. But, I mean, the wear and tear on this guy's legs are going to be pretty rough. I mean, last year, Dion Lewis touched the ball 79 times. You know what I mean? So between 25 catches and 54 carries, you know, that's you know, of course he didn't score a whole lot of touchdowns, but that's not bad for a guy that you can have on your roster and kind of get in the second round of a rookie draft.
And to me, the lack of Dion Lewis production was frustrating because he was a guy that I was actually like, he wasn't like my sleeper pick per se, but he was one of those that I'm like, you know, I'm going to get him later rounds. He's going to be my flex spot here and there, and it just didn't happen. So that was a little bit frustrating for me on the fantasy aspect, but no, I think Evans is going to come in and definitely make that happen. So for me, where are we at? 20?
Yep.
Number 20. I got Chase Claypool going to the Steelers. I like the landing spot. Obviously, you know, I got James Washington in one of our leagues. Oh, we got the same one. I like it. I think he can definitely come in, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do as far as how do they use him, right? Because he wants to play receiver. I think he should play receiver. But are they going to move him inside a little bit, throw him at the tight end slot on some plays? You know what I mean? He's still going to go out for routes, good blocking. So we can definitely see what's going to happen, but I like the landing spot here. We're assuming Big Ben's going to be back healthy, ready to go. And I think he just makes everybody a little bit better. Obviously Mason Rudolph is not quite the answer in my opinion. Obviously young, inexperienced, right? That's going to play a factor in the NFL, but, with Big Ben back, I think Claypool's going to definitely see some good targets. I think Juju's going to start to do a whole lot better. They've got that chemistry, so I think that's going to help out Claypool. I think Deontay Johnson's going to help. To me, you talk about like crowded wide receiver groups, right? I think Pittsburgh's got a lot of talent on the receiving end of things. So it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think he's going to come out and necessarily be one of these top-tiered, you know, draft him in the first round type of rookie players. But I think he's going to be a guy definitely from a dynasty aspect to stash, keep him on your taxi squad. And he could have the breakout year, right? Let's say that James Washington or maybe Deontay Johnson, right? They just don't produce like we expect them to. And then Claypool kind of slides in and does his thing. Juju's Juju. You give him the ball, he's the guy, But I like Claypool here. Going to be interesting to see how they use him.
I love this pick. I love this pick a whole lot. I think Claypool can slide into that number 2 role relatively easy. It might not be year 1, like you said, but I do think. But that's the thing, though. If you're productive, the Steelers don't care what role on the team you play.
Yep.
Since 2013, obviously minus last year, the Steelers have thrown the ball over 500 times in every season but one. In the one season they didn't. They threw the ball 469 times, and Roethlisberger only played 11 games in that season. This is a lot of contingency plans on Ben being healthy. But if Ben is healthy, I love this pick. You know what I mean? I think Claypool's got all the talent in the world. I think that it's a possibility they might utilize him at tight end, but I think they can utilize them at both positions, right? They do have Ebron, but Ebron was a 1-year Band-Aid to try to figure out. I think Claypool landed to them in the perfect spot. Claypool, for me, was hard to rank. At some points, I think I'd have my high as 15, and then I'd kind of settle down around 20. I think these next 5 picks really could have been ranked any which way, and I would have been okay with that. So Claypool is an easy 20, and I think that he's going to be a steal in round 2 of these rookie drafts.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so for me, sitting at 19, I'm going back to Vegas. I got Henry Ruggs there. I think some are going to have him a little bit higher, especially because he does have that draft capital, right? He got picked 12th overall. He's the speed guy. A lot of people are higher on him than what I and you are. But I still think that the Raiders are trying to become more high-powered. You know what I mean? It's all going to come back down to Derek Carr. What is he capable? I've seen him. So it's funny. When he had his big year, right? He had his breakout year. He was the quarterback. I was like, I got to get him, right? I just want to take my chance and I want to have him. And I won my league that year. But since that point, we haven't seen it, right? It's just been very hit and miss, very, very choppy. So I think now that he does have some weapons, albeit younger weapons on a crazy offseason that aren't going to have as much, chemistry opportunities. So I get that. But I think the Raiders are really starting to try and mold that offense, get some core pieces to it, and I think it can definitely fit. So it's going to be interesting to see how they use Ruggs.
Yeah, he was, when I was talking about Claypool, he was one of those guys, Henry Ruggs was. I'm like, where do I rank Ruggs? Because after day 1, I was like, man, I love Ruggs. And then, of course, day 2 and 3 come in play, and here we sit, and I don't like him as much as I did in day 1. For me, this is another guy that I teeter-tottered with. I didn't know where to rank him a whole lot, but I like the landing spot. Zach Moss, running back for Buffalo. You have Singletary there, right?
Yep.
You have Frank Gore. The ghost of Frank Gore still kind of tinkering around. I think this is a long-term play. They don't buy into Singletary for some reason. They just, I think that they don't draft Moss if they fully bought into Singletary. I do think this is going to be more of a split back situation, which is very ugly for either guy, full fantasy wise. Obviously, rookie draft wise, Moss is an easy second rounder. But personally, it's an ugly situation in Buffalo. They run the ball a lot. They do. I think Moss is going to be the better pass catcher of the two. So I think that's where he'll benefit as well. But, the lingering issues is what held Zach Moss back, right? If it wasn't for the injuries, he probably would have been, one of the top, 5 running backs off the board. But for me, this is a decent landing spot for him. I don't love it, but I like it enough for him to be a second rounder.
Yeah, I've got him slotted at 25 because of the injury concerns, and I love Zach Moss. I'm definitely someone who's been much higher on Zach Moss for quite some time. But yeah, like you said, it's definitely going to be a shared backfield, I think. If he can stay healthy, I think he'll be one of those steals in the rookie drafts, right? Someone's going to take that chance on him. I think you're going to have to get him in the second round because it does hit a point, right? So you've got your first round talents. It hits a point in the second round where now you're essentially taking those dart throws. I don't think he's as much of a dart throw, but he kind of is because of health concerns. So I like him there. But yeah, I slotted him at 25 just because of that. But if it wasn't the injury thing, I'd probably have him closer to where you have him, maybe a little higher. But where we at 18? All right. So this is one, and it's funny I talk about injuries, right? So I've got Laviska Shenault slotted in at 18, who again, yeah, okay, injury concerns, I get that. But I whenever he got drafted, I told you like I kind of like this, right? And then I was like, no, well, I don't know, maybe. So I'm not totally sold on it, but at the same time, I am enough to slot him where I have him at 18. I think he can fit well into Jacksonville. He's a quick, agile guy for his size. He's got good hands. It's just we got to see him on the field. That's always been our biggest knock on him is just staying on the field. And I will say this, and it's crazy. It's kind of hypocritical to say for me to have him here, but I was a huge Geist fan, and I still am. I'm holding on to him in certain places. And I understand receiver, running back, different positions, but I'm waiting for Geist to, break out still. And the difference being Shenault has been hurt before the NFL. Geist was pretty, for the most part, healthy until the NFL, right? So it's a little bit different there, but I like him in Jacksonville. I think he can definitely be utilized in a good way there. It's going to be fun to see, though. I think the Jacksonville offense is one to keep an eye on. Not saying they're going to be obviously the number one offense in the league, but I think they're
throwing the ball, right? They're going to be bad, so they're going to have to throw the ball, right? You might have Minshew throwing the ball 30, 40 times a game just because they're behind. And Laviska, again, the same way we just mentioned about Moss, healthy Laviska,
yeah,
the best receivers in this class by far. Nope. I think that this could end up being a steal for the Jaguars. I have them ranked just a hair higher, but for me, this is one I love. This guy, I'm not sure I love the landing spot, and that's Brandon Ayuk from the 49ers. My problem with this is we have games with the 49ers where they're throwing the ball 15 times. Yeah, the games where they're competitive and they're throwing the ball 40 times. The consistency is a key for Ayuk, and I don't know if that consistency is necessarily there enough for me to have him ranked higher. I like some of these other receivers in this class a little bit better. There's one guy that I teeter-totted the neck. There's one guy I teeter-totted with a whole lot. With him going back and forth. I think the next three guys that I have on my list are going to go back and forth between those three. I'll just go ahead and throw Laviska on mine just because he's right there right before yours. But I like the landing spot for Ayuk. I think they're going to utilize him the best way they can. I do think it was weird that they kind of passed on Lamb. Shanahan came out and said that Ayuk was their number one rated receiver on their board, which is interesting. It also kind of falls in line with some of the stuff that we did here down in Mobile. Mm-hmm. Again, if Ayuk, the question, well, he kind of landed right around where he might have landed, whether his stock was up or down in Mobile, but he could have had a great, stock rise even higher down from Mobile. So I like the Ayuk landing spot for them. I'm a big fan of Ayuk, and I think that he would be a lot higher if it wasn't for the offense.
For sure. So slotting in at, what do we got, 17? 17 for me. CeeDee Lamb. It's simply because of the crowd. You said it before, right? The crowded wide receiver core. And when I say that, to me, it's because of a higher tiered wide receiver there, right? So Cooper, he's been the wide receiver one since he's got there. Once he finally got, and it's funny to say that Dak is a better quarterback than Derek Carr, right? Because there's so many question marks still behind Dak. But I do believe that Dak is a better quarterback. So, and then obviously Michael Gallup, he's definitely getting more involved once they finally got in that chemistry. I know that first go around with Dak and Gallup was a little bit rough. He kept overthrowing him, making it, difficult for him to score some fantasy points and get some, NFL stats on the board. But I like the CeeDee landing spot. I don't think it's a first year play, right? I think it's a little bit longer. It's going to be a longer game. I think that Gallup and Lamb can be closer in fantasy points than what people probably think. But I still think Cooper's far and away, the guy there. But when you look at it, and someone had actually pointed it out, where is it at? I got it over here. Cooper's contract. So technically he's on the team through the 2024 season, but in 2022, dead cap is $6 million. Do I think they cut him? Absolutely not. Right? Cooper's not a guy that you cut, but I think he at that point, if they wanted to, if CeeDee Lamb comes in and just starts to light the world on fire, Gallup is still doing his thing, right? I think Cooper's one that could potentially get traded, and it wouldn't cost wouldn't cost the other teams too terribly much to really take him on, because the Cowboys are paying essentially all of that guaranteed money right up front. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens long-term in that one. So I think CeeDee Lamb is someone that you've got to be a little bit more patient with, but I think talent can definitely rise up, and I think he can see the field. He will see the field, right? They took him at 17. And they always talk about that draft capital. So I'm a little bit lower on the Lamb landing spot, but I'm also a little bit higher than some other guys. So I'm kind of in that middle, want to see it, but I still like him a lot. You want me to go 16, or are you just going to, since you know.
That's fine. Go ahead and go 16. That's fine.
Since you jumped in and.
Well, I figured since.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well,
no, so.
It makes sense.
For me, he's a guy you've already talked about. I got him a little bit higher than you. Brandon Ayuk. I got him at 16. All the reasons you basically said. It's just going to come down to what are they doing, right? Are they going to, if they throw the ball, you know what? Even if they throw the ball 19 to 24 times a game, I think I'd be okay with that. Because I think Ayuk is talented enough that if you gave him 5 targets, good targets, not just throw it over his head, if you give him a good 5 targets a game, you'd love to see more, right? You want to see more. But I think if you just get him the ball, I think he can make some plays, right? We saw it with Debo. That's kind of his style of play. So he's able to definitely beat people in the 50-50 ball, even for not being, a big body type guy. But I think Ayuk is someone that can definitely come in and make an impact. They've got to find that second receiver, and I think Ayuk is it. I think him and Debo are going to have really phenomenal seasons, but it does come down to, are they going to throw the ball 8 times a game, or are they going to throw it 27 times a game, right? That's going to be the interesting thing that we need to find out, but I like the landing spot for Ayuk personally.
Yeah, for me, I do, but I don't. You know what I'm saying? For me, it's I don't know. I think obviously it goes Kittle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the first mouth to feed, and then you go from there. But to be honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me if the 49ers have a down year and they go a different direction with the quarterback position. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. I know Jimmy G's contract is coming up and they have an out. So
take for Trevor.
Oh God, against offense. Oh my goodness. Brandon Ayuk, number 1 receiver on the board. For me, this is another one that I teeter-totter back and forth. He was ranked much higher, like I said, after day 1. Henry Ruggs, I can't really add anything that Stoops didn't add to. The only thing that I do think that might be in Ruggs' benefit is just the simple fact that they're going to be in an offense that's going to have to throw the ball 45 to 50 times, because that division is loaded with talent. That's going to be probably the most fun division to watch.
For sure.
This coming season, right? The Chargers are retooled. That Chargers defense is insane. And they only got better the last 2 days. So for me, the Chargers are insane. The Chargers instantly upgraded at the quarterback position as well. For me personally, he's probably the second best quarterback in the division, right? But it's crazy to me that the offensive weapons in this division are as deep as they are. But that's the concern as well with Ruggs, is what we've talked about since day 1. Is this guy a fantasy contributor, or is he an actual football contributor? Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure he's going to be able to be both.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, slotting in at the 15 spot is a guy that we saw down in Mobile, Mr. Michael Pittman. I really like him in Indy. It's just, for me, Rivers is there this year, right? But then it's kind of like, what's past that? You know what I mean? That's kind of the long-term concern for me. But nonetheless, I like the landing spot in Indianapolis. I think they needed someone like him. They've got some other talented guys there, obviously. But I think they've really, really improved that offense big time. I think they've really, really improved it. I'm sure we'll both get to a guy later on to talk about. But I like it. I think he actually is one that can come in and have a really good rookie campaign. Not saying he's going to necessarily be, the wide receiver one in the rookies, but I think he could definitely be one of the top 5, potentially top 3 wide receivers. So I definitely want to see where that goes. It almost seems like with how the Colts drafted that they're trying to run the ball as well. You know, they love to run the ball, and I don't know if Marlon Mack was the answer, but I'll get into that one a little bit later. But I like the Michael Pittman landing spot. And good, Ricky's back.
Sorry about that. Okay, so for me, I love this pick. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I wanted to rank Pittman higher. I argued with myself about how I could rank him higher. You know, since Frank Wright has become the head coach, they threw the ball 644 times in 2018, and then in 2019 they threw the ball 514 times. So for me, that's 1,100 passes being thrown. Not only that, now you bring a quarterback that is 10 times better than the quarterback that they had last year in Phillip Rivers. Obviously, I think they might game plan a little bit differently, as you pointed out. A guy we'll talk about a little bit later. But Michael Pittman's the number 2 receiver on this team right away. You know what I mean? Looking at their depth chart, I mean, it could be potentially the number 1, depending on how often T.Y. Hilton gets hurt, right?
Yeah.
For me, he kind of comes in here and he is an automatic target machine. I think Pittman, the more I talk about him, the more I think I might have wished I ranked him a little bit higher in this offense. Frank Wright throws the ball a lot, and Michael Pittman's going to catch the ball a lot. I think that he's going to have well over probably 50 or 60 catches this year. I could see that easily happening. Mm-hmm. 50, 60 catches, 700, 800 yards, maybe, you know, half a dozen touchdowns. And that right there is great fantasy value as is. I think Pittman is going to be a fantastic steal. I think T.Y. Hilton's not necessarily a long-term play. You know what I mean? It's the health, right?
Yeah.
If T.Y. Hilton stays healthy, he's one of the best receivers in this game. But
Hilton's a free agent after this year.
Exactly. So that factors in as well. And of course, his health issues, he's not going to get a big contract. No. So for me, it's Pittman. And obviously, like you said, though, we're running off of Rivers for a season. There's still a lot of quarterbacks left in the draft that have not been drafted. You got Eason, you've got Fromm, you've got Gordon. You know, you've got a couple of guys that still aren't drafted. They're still on the board 4 through 7 starts, you know, here in just a couple hours. So they might draft that quarterback of the future, but they might go Rivers and Brissett and be okay. So for me, it's a great landing spot for Pittman. It's probably one of my favorite landing spots of the receivers. He's probably top 3 or 4 receivers landing spots in my opinion. But I love the move and I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. So where am I at? For me, sitting at number 14, I'm kind of surprised you didn't have this guy a little bit higher, but maybe I'm just, you know, bigger fan. I don't know. Anyway, just kidding. I put Adam Troutman up this high because I love the landing spot that much. I love him in New Orleans. I think he's going to definitely be a piece that gets really involved in that offense because of his athletic ability, right? You love to see the athletic tight ends, sure-handed. I mean, you saw when they were given the highlight films, right? Whenever he got drafted and they're showing their game, he's catching it out here one-handed. He's out here just bullying people around. And now, obviously, is he going to be able to bully people around at the NFL level? No, not necessarily. You know, they're much more physical, much stronger, much faster. I get it. But I think Troutman's a guy that's going to come in and definitely make an impact, make a name for himself early. I love the landing spot. He's definitely my tight end 1. He's already been my tight end 1. Yeah, he was. Yeah. But by far now, like seeing that landing spot, it's not even close, right? It's not even close for me. So I slotted him at 14.
I had an issue trying to figure out where I wanted to land him. Do I want to take a tight end that high in this rookie draft? And the more I think about it, it's round 2. Yeah, I probably would. Right. You know what I mean? You know, he's probably not going to, you know, if you pick in that top, you pick in the top, you know, 12, you're picking in the 10, 11, 12 area. I don't hate taking him there because, you know, he's not going to be there whenever your pick comes back around. So for me, that's where it gets interesting as well. So for me, let's go here. This one's going to be highly controversial, and I really don't care. Tua, 14. Look, we're not talking super flex here. Obviously, we're talking super flex. Tua is probably, you know, maybe top 5, top 10. I don't know. I don't like Tua, but there's a big but here. I do like the landing spot. Healthy Tua, I don't know what fantasy value I just don't see it, right? I don't like the fit. I don't like it at all. There's not much I can say about it. I know this is going to be a lot lower than some people have him. I don't know where you have him, Stoops. But for me, I don't like big game 2 is not a thing. So yeah.
What you guys but how many big games is Miami going to be in?
Well, I think a lot. I think this team has a chance to make the playoffs next year.
I think they do too. I think they've done really.
Does he play this year is the other question, right?
Well, that's for sure. But I also think sitting where we are now, I think Miami's got to be one of the winners of the drafts, right? I think they've actually done much better than what a lot of people thought they would. I know it was questioned, is Tua going to be first, second quarterback off the board? Obviously, he was one of the top ones off. So anyway, I'm at 13. So sitting at 13 for me is Cam Akers. I like him a lot. I still am a fan. I know that you're, for whatever reason, not a fan. I think he's someone that can definitely come in and make a name for himself. I think that offense is, I don't want to say they're in a full rebuild state. I don't think they're there, but I also don't know if they really have that running back there currently that they trust in. I think Cam Akers is someone that's going to come in and really start to make a name for himself early. I love his abilities, and I'm not going to go to the Florida State argument that everyone gives, but he's going to have much better people around him to help his production. So I like Cam Akers. I think it's a good landing spot personally.
I do too. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say there because he's higher on my ranking. So I'll talk about him a little bit. For me personally, hold on. Sorry, I got to figure out where my pick is here.
Hey, Roger.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just kidding. Where's your comfy chair?
Man, right?
Did you see? It was funny. You saw that words. Everyone started like tweeting out like, "Oh, Roger's getting tired. He's in his big comfy chair."
Exactly. That's the weird thing for me. Coming at number 13, I got T. Higgins. I like the landing spot. I like it a lot. I just like the other guys' landing spots in front of him a little bit more. T. Higgins for me is super talented. Joe.
I just put it in.
Yeah. For me, what I love the most about this landing spot is Cincinnati's going to throw the football. And like you pointed out when we were talking about it, A.J. Green is probably more than likely gone after this year. But if you think about it, Boyd, Green, and Higgins, that is going to be a pretty deadly offense for Burrow to start off with. I was really hoping that I was happy to see Troutman go off the board, but I really was kind of hoping that he would fall to the first pick of the fifth round and then land right in Cincinnati's lap, which is why I think New Orleans jumped in front of them and grabbed him when they did last night. But Higgins is a monster, right? 6'4". I think he's going to be a red zone threat. I think him, Boyd, and Green in the red zone is going to be hard to cover. I don't care what kind of defense you have, right? And it depends on what they do at the tight end position. And, of course, you have Mixon out of the backfield. Let's not forget about how good Mixon is. Mixon's a very good back, very talented back. I really feel like Burrow – everybody kept talking Cincinnati. You know, it's a great landing spot for Burrow. They have offense, and they have an offensive-minded head coach. I love the landing spot. I love Higgins. Again, the next 3 receivers that I have ranked are kind of all jumbled together, and I could have easily seen it. If you want to go Higgins above the next 3 or the next few guys I have, I'm perfectly fine with it. But I like the move a whole lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. Everything you said. I like him in Cincinnati. I think him and Burrow are going to definitely be able to build that chemistry. Mixon's there, right? So I think it could be built into an offense that's one to be worried about, right? I feel like last year it was kind of like, yeah, they had some pieces, they could get stuff done, but nobody was overly concerned with it per se. I think things are changing there, hopefully, right? I mean, when you have the first overall pick, you got to make some moves. So I think Burrow's a good move, and I think getting Higgins there amongst what they have elsewhere. And yeah, I think AJ Green. I mean, he's going to be 32 years old, free agent after this year. Injury concerns. I don't see him there much longer. They might, give him one of those vet contracts, right? To where it's, a 2-year deal, team friendly, potentially get out after 1 more year. We'll see what happens, but I like the landing spot for Higgins. Absolutely.
All right. So my 12 is going to be bada bing. I like Justin Herbert. I do. This is going to be based on need. If you need a quarterback, you draft him higher, right? For me personally, I like Herbert a whole lot. I think that he is the most gifted quarterback potentially in this draft outside of Burrow. I think that he's got potential to be that guy on the next level. And I love the landing spot. The weapons are a bit of a question, right? You know what I mean? They don't, outside of Eckler, Henry doesn't stay healthy. Keenan Allen has a question mark with health, but I like Allen. But how much longer is Allen going to be playing? So that's another question mark for me as well. Justin Herbert, I love Herbert. We've talked about him on the show a whole lot, and that's why I got him slotted number 12.
Apparently, I love him a little bit more than you, but so where am I at? Sitting at 11.
This is kind of funny. This is not to interrupt you. So it kind of gets funny here, like not knowing each other's rankings and then seeing where some of these guys landed. It's kind of funny the kind of the live reaction to, oh, he must not like these guys, and it's kind of crazy to me. I don't know. It's funny. Sorry to interrupt you.
So sitting at 11, got Denzel Mims. I absolutely love the landing spot and for the Jets. I think he's definitely going to be a guy that comes in and is going to be a huge weapon for Darnold. I really, really would love to see them get Le'Veon Bell more involved, which is going to open up the receivers. I think with Robbie Anderson gone, I think Denzel Mims is going to come in and fill that role very, very well. I think it's going to do nothing but help Sam Darnold. Denzel Mims is an absolute stud. I mean, look what he did when he had Charlie Brewer throwing him the ball, right? And I'm a fan of Brewer. I am. But I don't think he's going to be a top NFL quarterback. So when he's able to do that, now obviously Big 12, high power offenses, right? Just kind of a score a lot of points, get a lot of yards type of system. So a little bit different there, but overall, I think Denzel Mims going to the Jets is a big get for them, and I'm a huge fan of that one.
Yeah, I love it. I love it as well. I got him a little bit higher myself. Sliding in at my number 11 spot,
Nice.
Splat, whatever. Spot is DeAndre Swift. Look, I like Swift. I hate this landing spot so much. I do think that he could probably easily be the best running back on this team because Kerryon Johnson is what Kerryon Johnson is. I think that was a bad pick whenever they made it. I don't think that he was worthy of the capital that they had. They're a good team. Kind of. They ran the ball 400 times last year, right? Let's just say Swift gets half of those carries next year. You know what I mean? I think that he's going to be a good back. To me, there's just too much more talent in front of him that I like a whole lot. I think Swift can still be. I like what I said yesterday. The biggest question mark for me is the regime, right? So you have Patricia. They have a bad year. Patricia's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, their GM might be gone too, right? I think Stafford's probably gone. Okay. Does the new coaching staff, does the new GM, do they buy into Swift? Right. So that's the first thing that kind of bothers me whenever you're landing in a spot where the coach could be fired at the end of the year. You know, Darius guys, he was poised to be that thing. You know what I mean? And now it's like, obviously the injuries didn't help him, but you know, he's fallen further and further down the depth chart. Who knows if he's even on the Redskins rosters starting opening day? You know what I mean? But there's other teams that I think whenever you look at the broad scale of things, I just don't like the landing spot at all for Swift.
I don't like it at all. I think it was, for me, one of the worst landing spots. I mean, you've seen what they've done with Kerryon Johnson. I just don't trust that they're going to get the running backs involved. Now, I think Swift is a much better talent, right?
Yep.
Much better talent than Kerryon Johnson, but I don't like that landing spot at all. I was definitely hoping for him to go somewhere else. So sliding in at number 10 for me is Mr. Keyshawn Vaughn. I absolutely love that landing spot. I think that what Tampa is doing is absolutely phenomenal, right? They already had, and I know I'm going to the receivers on it, but they already had Evans. They had Godwin. They got Gronk, right? Rojo, in some people's eyes, is a better talent than, you know, what he's shown on the field per se. I think he showed what he was able to do last year, but I think Keyshawn Vaughn coming in, I think that's a phenomenal add. It's going to be interesting to see what that offense does. I think it's going to be a scary offense, right? You know, put it this way. Jameis Winston, yeah, he threw 30 plus interceptions, whatever, but he threw like 30 touchdowns as well. So imagine when you get a more accurate quarterback in there, who does love to dump it off to the running back. And we talked about it, right? Vaughn worked on his pass catching ability, came back for the senior season type thing and really worked on that pass catching aspect to it. So I think he's going to definitely come in and excel. I think they're going to get him involved, and I'm excited to see what they do with Vaughn.
So the next guy that I want to talk about, and I like a little bit more, well, a lot bit more than you did. Well, not, maybe 7 spots or so, but and that's going to be CD Lamb. You talked me into him a little bit more than I thought at first. Obviously, I think that he comes in. He's the number 2 receiver. He's light years more talented than Gallup is. I think Gallup's dynasty stock just went plummeting down. You know what I mean? These last 48 hours. For me, some of the stuff that stands out, Mike McCarthy likes to throw the football. Okay. Mike McCarthy over the last 2 seasons with Green Bay, they threw the ball over 500 times every single season. I mean, I'm looking back at the 2016 right now, and even in 2016, they threw the ball 620 times, 570 times in 2017. And then, of course, if you look at, and then you look at 2050, obviously we're talking Aaron Rodgers, but the fact of the matter is this, they're going to throw the ball. McCarthy likes to throw the ball. McCarthy's going to get the ball in his best player's hands. And I'm sorry, I still think that's going to be CD Lamb. I still think CD Lamb is going to be a better receiver in this league than Amari Cooper is. I think Lamb is super duper talented. I think that he's the best offensive weapon on this team outside of Zeke now. And the more I thought about it after 24 hours later, I was like, man, I hate this landing spot. I don't love it right away. If he would have went somewhere else, he probably would have been our top 5 or 6 had he landed maybe with like the 49ers or had he landed with anywhere else really. But for me, this is a long-term play. I even think it's the first year play. I really feel like that CD Lamb could be the best rookie receiver in this class this year, yardage, touchdowns, et cetera, et cetera. I think they're going to utilize him. I like McCarthy and what he does with his offense fantasy wise, throwing the ball 550 times a year. Cooper can't get all those. And then I think the pecking order is going to be obviously Cooper, then it's going to be Lamb, or it could be Cooper, Zeke, Lamb, depending on how you look at it, but actually passing the ball. I still think that Lamb gets 100 targets this year. So
you think he gets that many targets?
I think he gets 100 targets this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that he's going to supplant. The only thing that's going to hold him back this year maybe is depending on how long camp draws out, right? You know what I mean? That factors it in.
True. So for me, slotting in at number 9, I know some will have him higher, but I'm still a huge, huge fan of it. I got Clyde at number 9. It kind of, you'll see. I don't want to spoil anything, but I think we went about our rankings differently for certain positions. I'll just say that. Yeah. So
you went higher on the quarterbacks.
Correct. Yeah. I love Clyde in Kansas City. I think he's going to be the guy there. I think they drafted him for that purpose. I mean, you look at we talked about that, right? So I think Damian Williams, he's basically a free agent after this year. Yep. I think he's out. He's 20, he's going to be 28 years old. So I think Clyde's the guy this year. And going forward, will they bring in someone else? I'm sure, right? Very, very few offenses have that bell cow. I mean, we're talking like a Barkley, a Zeke. I know there's someone else because it was mentioned, but I don't remember. But those are the first 2 that really come into mind, right? Like where it's a bell cow type offense. So, and I don't see Kansas City really ever going that route, but I think they're going to have their guy. And I think Clyde is it. I think he's just such a physical runner. He's an amazing pass catcher.
Yeah.
Amazing pass catcher.
Wait, he is?
He is. And once
I saw tweets on draft day saying otherwise.
Yeah, well, he's an amazing pass catcher. Once you get the ball into his hand, he can make plays. He can definitely make it happen. So I think going to that Kansas City offense, high powered already, I think he's going to be a phenomenal fit there.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me. I'm a little floored. Obviously, I think the difference of approach in the quarterbacks here for us, I think that's kind of what is going to alter our top tier rankings here a little bit, but that's definitely interesting. But I do agree a whole lot. I like the landing spot. For me, number 9, Denzel Mims. Talking about benefiting from the landing spot, right? Robbie Anderson's gone. The Jets. Look, the Jets are going to have to throw the ball. I mean, Adam Gase is is what Adam Gase is, right? We don't know what that is. Do we even know that Adam Gase will be the head coach of the New York Jets next offseason? We don't know that. So you have Crowder, you have Perriman. Perriman's a 1-year contract. Darnold, I think, is a great talent. I think that he is a very, very good quarterback in a very, very bad situation. I do agree with what you said. I really hope they lean on Bell a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this is such a waste of a talent right there with Bell. Bell is a phenomenal athlete. When he gets the ball, he's one of the best running backs in football. And at one time, in his last 2 seasons with Pittsburgh, he was the best running back in football. You know what I mean? And it's like, I understand he took the year off. I understand that they're saying that this wasn't Gase's signing, which is understandable. I understand that. But Bell is a phenomenal talent. Utilize him, please, because what you can do with him, you can set Darnold up for the, play action pass. You look at the weapons you have. Mims to me is automatically probably the best receiver on this team. I'm not a Jamison Crowder guy. Rashad Perriman, I think that he was a benefit of playing for a Tampa Bay team that had to throw the ball 60 times a game, right? Yeah. So that's what he utilized in order to get him a nice little contract. But for me as a collective whole, I think that this is a no-brainer, this is a no-brainer first-round pick for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I love that landing spot. So for me, coming in at number 8, this is where it really starts to change, I guess. I got Tua up here. I think with what Miami's doing, I think they're making it happen, right? Will he play this year? We don't know. I think they've got. I love Preston Williams. I love him there. I meant to pull it up and I didn't, but kind of what picks they've got coming up. So it's right here, Miami. Cool. I mean, they've still got 2 in the 4th round. I think they can still pick up a receiver to help. You're much higher on Parker than I am. Yeah.
Please draft AGG.
I can't believe he hasn't gone off the board. Anyway, I think Tua can come in, and I think they've done enough on that offense. They've really shored up the offensive line. Well, they've drafted to help shore it up, right? We won't know until we see him on the field, but they're drafting to protect their quarterback, which is a phenomenal thing. You definitely want to see that happen. So I think the landing spot in Miami is a better landing spot than what I maybe had originally thought after seeing what they've done on the other picks, right? I think that's kind of what boosted my Tua ranking a little bit. Do I still think he will be a top-notch phenomenal quarterback? I'm still a little hesitant on it, but I think what they're doing is catering to him and definitely going to help him out. So I have moved him up my rankings clearly.
Yeah, clearly, and that's fine. I think the problem with I have is I'm still concerned with the weapons on offense. I like Parker, as I've mentioned. They haven't addressed the running game. I mean, Jordan Howard, that's who we're going to have run the ball. For me, it's been kind of alarming. I don't think the running backs that are left are really going to I really feel like Jordan Howard's really benefited from this weekend. It's kind of weird because look, Jordan Howard's not a bad running back, and he's had a few good seasons, and he was good for Chicago. But for me, as a collective whole, it's still weird to kind of see,
I would like to see LaMichael Pirine, DJ Dallas, someone like that go there.
Pirine wouldn't be bad.
I think that could work, but yeah, I'm looking at it here past that. I know Michael Warren's ranked a lot lower, but
I wish they would draft a receiver though. I mean, they need one. I like Parker you said, a little bit more than I do. Gesicki's not a bad little tight end. And again, is Tua going to play this year? I mean, that's the big factor as well. I think he does. I mean, probably after, Fitzpatrick throws his 833rd pick six for his career, but sliding at number 8, this is your guy. I mean, obviously, Jalen Reagor, Philadelphia. This landing spot's beautiful. Jeffries, I think, is gone this year. After this year, Wentz is there long term. Well, we think anyway. Besides the Hurts draft pick, but Jalen Reagor is phenomenal. The Eagles throw the ball. They throw the ball a lot, and they're going to continue to throw the ball. First year, I've tempered my expectations just because I'm not 100% sure what we're doing with Jeffries. You still have Ertz. You still have Goddard. I still think one of those, Ertz or Goddard, maybe might be gone in a year or two. You know what I'm saying? I just feel maybe Ertz.
I think it would be
age, right, because of his age. But they still have a young nucleus of weapons that I think that are going to be fantastic. And Wentz is one of the best quarterbacks in football. If the guy can stay healthy, he'll showcase that. I mean, the year that they went to the Super Bowl, I still believe they still would have went to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl. The Eagles were just phenomenal that year, and it was because of Wentz. The injury didn't help at all, but I love Wentz. I know you love Wentz, and I love the landing spot for Rager. Rager he's a phenomenal talent. And it was insane to me. Who is it? Was it Skip Bayless that was knocking the Rager draft? I think it was Skip. Well, obviously, let's talk about who we're talking about here, but I think it was Skip Bayless talking about how Jalen Rager was awful or something like that, and it was just like, obviously, he doesn't know anything about anybody outside of what Jerry Jeudy probably.
Yeah.
But this is a perfect landing spot. And we knew whatever receiver landed in Philadelphia was going to be here. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be in that top tier.
All right, so slotting in at number 7 for me, I got Justin Jefferson going to Minnesota. With Diggs out, I think Jefferson slots in immediately to that number 2 spot. Thielen, I think, is still going to be their top target guy there, but I think Jefferson definitely slots in very, very well. I think Kirk Cousins is going to benefit by having that second option now. We saw what he could do with Thielen and Diggs there. I love Jefferson going there. I think it's going to be a phenomenal fit. Especially if a healthy Dalvin Cook back there. I think that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I've got nothing to add to this because I completely left Jefferson off my list. So it's cool. You know what I mean? It's cool. I completely forgot about Jefferson. I don't know how I did that, but I wrote this thing down like 75 times last night, and now I got to reevaluate my entire life right now. So
clearly,
it's cool. I'm cool with making an idiot out of myself on the air right here. For me, sliding in at number 7, I've gone back and forth on this one, right? For me, it's Cam Akers. I like this a lot more than you do. Obviously, just sliding in at number 7. I think that this is a slam dunk. I really do. I really had Akers a little bit higher at first. I still think that he could be maybe the 5th running back off the board, maybe the 4th running back on the board. I like a couple other guys a little bit better. I think that he's going to be utilized to perfection. The biggest problem they have is that offensive line. He goes from one of the worst offensive lines in college football to one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. And that could be an issue, but I think that he'll be able to catch the ball out of the backfield. I'm not a big Akers guy. I wasn't a big Akers guy. I'm still not a big Akers guy, but I love this landing spot. He's going to get the ball, and he's going to have to, they're going to have to give him the ball. He's the best running back on that team now, right? So, he slides in at number 7.
Cool. For me, getting into the top 6 now, I have one Jalen Rager. Everything you said, right? It's a phenomenal fit. I've got Wentz in my home league. I absolutely love that fit for him. I also have Aaron Rodgers, so there's that. But Wentz is kind of my long-term play here. But I love the Rager addition to that offense. I think he's going to slot in very, very well. He's finally got a quarterback who will really throw him the ball. And I think an offensive scheme head coach, offensive coordinator that will get him involved unlike TCU did in his final season there. So I love the fit. I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And I think he's one that come his rookie season. I think he's the one that could be the top guy this year.
Receiver-wise. I totally agree 100%. He's super talented, uber talented, right? Let's see here.
Did you forget someone again and you have to?
Nobody asked you. Nobody asked you. To be honest, so we'll talk about it real quick. I'm still not as high on Justin Jefferson as you are. I probably would have slotted him one spot ahead of Henry Ruggs on my list, which was 16.
15,
I would have slotted him probably 16-ish. I still don't like the landing spot a whole lot. I wish he would have landed somewhere else. I still think that Jefferson's an uber talented guy, but for me, sliding at number 6 here, probably my favorite landing spot of any of the receivers. Just really wish I believed. I think Jerry Jeudy would have been a top 3 for me if I would have believed in Drew Luck, and I don't really think that I do. But I thought about this last night. If the Broncos suck, could the Broncos end up with Trevor Lawrence? You know what I mean? Like, I just want to know what teams are going to be bad enough that I could start, pegging in that area. Last year, we knew Miami was going to be terrible. So everybody was like, well, Miami's going to be terrible. We're probably going to go ahead and slot Tua there. And what happened? You know what I mean? He landed there, right? There's a lot of teams that didn't play. I love Jerry Jeudy. I think Jerry Jeudy's all world. I wish I believed Luck a little bit more. Or Lock a little bit more. As you can see, I guess
they could go get him, talk him out of retirement.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. You got Jeudy at 5, so it's explainable. Jerry Jeudy's all world. We've talked about him on this show so many times, and I've waved that flag so many times.
I just think Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, throw some Deshaun Hamilton in there. All right, whatever.
KJ Hamler.
I just think, I think Drew Lock is, I get it. We got to see it, right? We got to see it. But I think the weapons are there, like very good weapons. So,
and they're going to have to throw the ball, right? Their defense is,
they've got Melvin Gordon back there.
Right.
They've still got Phillip Lindsay. I think this edition, obviously it's off-season hype, right? We're obviously, we're gonna hype up some guys that we want to see go a little bit better, but I think Drew Lock can have a very, very good season. Not saying he's going to be a QB1 necessarily. Could be a high end QB2 though. I love it. I love that landing spot for Jeudy. I think it's gonna boost Cortland Sutton. It's gonna boost Fant, which is gonna help me in one of my leagues, which is awesome. I love the landing spot. You kind of you said everything, right? He's all world. He's ultra talented.
And that's the thing. Like we forget to factor in. We don't forget the fact we talked about it already with a couple of these other teams. We talked about the Raiders. This entire division is loaded with talent. If you're playing the Chiefs twice a year, you're going to have to throw the ball a lot. If you're going to have to produce points, especially in this division. The Raiders, I still think the Raiders could score 30 points a game. Their defense might give up 40 points a game,
and that's just it. They could still lose.
The Broncos are going to have to throw the ball probably 40 times a game, and you're going to probably throw it to your best receiver, who's Jerry Jeudy, right? Period. End of story. Jerry Jeudy is probably their best receiver now. Not close. It's really not. I mean, no offense to Sutton, but Jerry Jeudy is better than light years better than Sutton, in my opinion. I saw that little, like, what are you talking about, Ricky? But it's all right. So for me,
we're all entitled to our own opinion.
We are. I went back and forth on this one. I'm struggling on this one right now. I'm just gonna. This was prime real estate for me. I love this landing spot. I love this. I am the happiest man in the world for this landing spot because Keyshawn Vaughn is going to be their back. Keyshawn Vaughn, the only reason he is not ranked higher is because of the landing spots in front of him. That is literally the only reason. And because they're going to throw the ball a lot down in Tampa. He has no competition in that backfield. I'm sorry, Ronald Jones fans. He's not. Keyshawn Vaughn is an upgrade at that position. Ronald Jones is not bad. But once they start giving Vaughn the ball, he's going to catch 40 balls this year. Go ahead and mark it down in your calendars right here. If they come out with a prop bet, Keyshawn Vaughn's going to catch 40 balls easily this year. I think that he's got over 1,000 yards this year coming.
1,000 total or 1,000 rushing?
Total. I think
so. Okay, so Ronald Jones had over 1,000 total yards last year.
Exactly. So I mean, and then you throw Peyton Barber in there as well, right?
No,
so,
I think he's gone.
He's gone, but I'm talking about his stats.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you throw Peyton Barber in there with his stats, and you're looking at a highly talented back who is a 3-down back. Ronald Jones can't, he can't block a dog coming in to try to protect Tom Brady, and that's going to be the most important thing. The thing about
what kind
it
of
is,
dog are we talking about? I don't know if okay, well, all right.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
But that's the thing. I think that's what's going to set Keyshawn Vaughn apart from the rest. The rest from Ronald Jones is the fact that he's going to be able to be that 3-down back. They're going to run that hurry up offense. They're going to run that 2-minute drill, and Keyshawn Vaughn's going to be on the football field. A dump off pass. You can line up Vaughn wide. You can line up in the backfield. You can line him out wherever you want to line up Vaughn. Line him up. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to produce. I am teetering towards the idea of depends on the offseason. The only question mark for me is the offseason, is getting the reps in there with Vaughn. But the good thing about it is Ronald Jones doesn't have any reps with Tom Brady either. So that's the plus side, right? Tom Brady, this offense is going to be – it's not going to be a lot different, but I think it's going to be more suited to Brady's capabilities. And with that being said, I love Keyshawn Vaughn. I even teetered with him being in my top 3. I'm going to be honest with you.
Wow.
But
you've been much higher on Vaughn since essentially day one.
And this landing spot's brilliant.
Yeah.
This is the perfect. I said the Rams. I actually said the Rams or the Bucks would be the perfect landing spot for him, and here we are. So if it wasn't for the one quarterback that I love and a few of the other running backs landing spots, I would have probably Keyshawn Vaughn in my top 3.
Like it. All right, so let me make sure I got it copied before I paste nothing. Number 4 for me. Oh, where are we going? J.K. Dobbins. And once you see the other ones, it'll make more sense, I guess. But he is my RB2. Spoiler for the number 1 spot. But I love him in Baltimore. I mean, when you look at it, he's going to share the backfield with Mark Ingram this year. I think they're going to get both of them involved, but I think J.K. Dobbins is the answer there. He's going to be their guy long term. I absolutely love the landing spot. They love to run the ball, obviously, but it's funny, right? As I said earlier on, I hope they start to throw the ball a little bit more. But J.K. Dobbins can get involved in the passing game, right? He can catch the ball. He can do everything after the catch. So even if they start throwing it more, he can still get involved with it. And I think he can just benefit all around. Because looking at it, I have it over here. Yeah, so Mark Ingram was a free agent after the 2021 season. So he could even potentially be there, this year into next season as well. He might. I don't think he will, but it's almost like he could potentially retire, after this season. I don't think it happens. I think if he continues to do what he's doing, I think Ingram stays around. But at worst, it's a 1.3 million dead cap, right, going into the 2021 season. So again, a lot of these offenses are having those 2 running backs for 1.3 million. I mean, obviously the salary is going to be a little bit more than that going into the 2021 season for Ingram, but I think they'll keep them both around, but I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be the guy there. It's going to be his offense on the backfield. So I love that landing spot personally. Love it.
I like it a whole lot too.
Well, I love it.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I'll show Clyde Edwards-Helaire, everything that you said earlier. I wasn't obviously the fantasy circles are jumped up in a roar.
Yeah.
He's RB1 without even realizing anybody else where they were going to land. Obviously, just a few hairs higher than you are on him. My problem with the Chiefs is this. There's a lot of mouths to feed. And yes, they're going to have a running back, and he's probably going to be the guy after this year. He'll split some times with Williams in year 1. Williams can be gone. Or even if Williams signs a smaller contract or sticks around to be the back, Edwards-Helaire is going to be the guy. So that's why I'm as high as I do. The one thing that I do think that he does well enough to warrant this number 4 is he catches the ball out of the backfield. That's the big one for me. I mean, you're going to have to catch the ball in order to play on this offense. And I think that he's going to be a beautiful safety net for one of the best quarterbacks in football, Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah.
And it's like, the thing is, like, so if you think about it, you say there's a lot of mouths to feed, which you're not wrong. I think, because think about it, when Kareem Hunt was doing Kareem Hunt things, he was, I don't remember if he was actually the RB1, but he was top 3, right? Tyreek Hill, top 5. Travis Kelce, number 1 tight end. So I think that, yeah, there may be a lot of mouths to feed, but they're all playing different positions. They all get involved in different ways. I think he can fit in very, very well. Yeah, I've got him down at 9. But
it's still a first round pick, right?
Yeah, and it's honestly it just what it comes down to is it a super flex league? Is it a QB1 league? Yeah, he's actually he's the RB3.
Yeah.
So it's definitely just because I have him 9 overall. It's just because I have my quarterbacks ranked a little bit higher than that, just because of the importance behind it. And I'll be honest, going into it, I did kind of have more of that super flex mentality to it.
Talk about that beforehand, but
that's okay. But I still like the landing spots nonetheless. So anyway, where am I at? 3. I'm at 3. So copy, paste. Justin Herbert. I like the landing spot more than you had talked up earlier. Keenan Allen, he had, a couple injuries back in the day, but I think overall, I'm not too terribly concerned with the health issues that were brought up. I think he's been on the field long enough, showed that he can, stay healthy with it. Obviously, it's football. Everyone's going to get banged up a little bit. And one of them was like a lacerated spleen or something. That's a freak injury. So it's just overall, I love the landing spot there. And the other thing is this. When will he be the starter, right? I mean, they take him, what was it, 6th overall. So obviously the capital's there. Are they going to pull a Giants to where it's just, we're going to go with Eli, and then it's kind of like, oh no, okay, Daniel Jones. Like, what are they going to do with it? Are they going to, like you even said in Cleveland when they took Baker, right? Tyrod was the guy. Tyrod was the starter. Kind of started to look a little shaky, got hurt, and if Tyrod didn't get hurt, didn't get banged up, I don't think Baker comes in just yet. You know what I mean? What are they going to do at the Chargers? Are they going to have Tyrod go, let Herbert, sit back and learn a little bit, or are they just going to say, sorry, Tyrod, yeah, we signed you, but we got Herbert. It's going to be interesting to see. I think they're going to go with Tyrod because of the offseason that we've seen. I don't think they're going to be able to throw him in just yet. And I don't think it's fair to do so, right? If they haven't had the proper, not training, but the proper facilities or the I can't think of the right word, but you get my point, right? It's not fair to just throw a rookie quarterback in there and him not be able to train with his guys. So, but I love the landing spot. I think Herbert's going to be phenomenal. And obviously we've been much higher on him than a lot of other guys.
Yeah, it's rightfully so. I mean, Herbert to me, light years. He's just the quarterback. You know what I mean? He's just that guy. And I think that he oozes the talent. And I can't wait for him to kind of showcase his ability to just be what he's going to be in this league, right? For me. Why did I go like that? Number 3 for me. Stop doing this to me. Here.
You're struggling, man. You're struggling.
Well, I didn't have him. I didn't have the copy and paste ready for him. You know what I mean? I didn't. I'm still teeter-tottering on my rankings here at the top 3.
So since you have it typed in, I'll just go ahead and. Dang it! I copied it. Go ahead. Keep talking. Keep talking.
Jonathan Taylor. I love the landing spot. I do. It's a great landing spot by far. It's year 1 you got Mac, right? We talked about this. You and I texted last night. Mac's in the easy cut after the year. Taylor's a beast. Taylor might win Rookie of the Year. I could see it. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously outside the quarterback position. I mean, I really think that if Joe Burrow goes out there, Joe Burrow probably win Rookie of the Year, right? And no, hands down.
Yeah. When he goes out there.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, this is, I don't even know. He's the best running back. He was my number 1 running back for quite a while. I switched to Swift, and now my heart's broken because Swift landed with the Lions. And then, of course, Taylor. The biggest problem with Taylor going into the draft was his fumbles. Period.
Which, and you're correct. You are absolutely correct. That is one thing I don't think will be an issue. We've seen it from so many other running backs in college. When they go pro, it's fixed, right? Could it still be an issue? Absolutely. I think it's going to get fixed, but I agree with you on that aspect too.
Yeah, I agree 100%. For me, it's a no-brainer, right? For me, it's
I'm interested who you. Well, okay, I guess I know who your number 1 is because.
All right. Okay, so for me, yeah, I mean, obviously, I'll just go ahead and throw that there. I mean, that's easy, right?
I was going to say, then I guess I'll just throw my.
Okay.
My 1.
I mean, obviously, we could talk about it back to back here because you're going to talk about Joe Burrow too. All right, so for me, when I was thinking about it last night, I had Joe Burrow as low as 7 or 8 at first. And then the thing about it is that changed for me is this, okay? Joe Burrow is going to score touchdowns with his legs.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is what sets him apart in this draft from some of the other quarterbacks or just rookies in general, okay? Not just that, the T. Higgins drafting rose his stock for me as well, right? So now we have Green, we have Boyd, we have Higgins. And then, of course, we have Mixon. And then you have 4 studs back there operating this offense. And then, of course, on the flip side of that, you have Zach Taylor, who I think is a very good coach on the offensive side of the ball. Their defense might not be that great this year. We're going to have to throw the ball like we talked about. I mean, obviously, this is a throwing league now. You know what I mean? Joe Burrow had 60 touchdown passes last year. Is he going to have 60 this year? No.
Could you imagine, though? It's not going to happen. It's not.
But that would be pretty awesome.
That'd be insane.
I do think that Burrow ends with 30, 35 touchdown passes this year. I really do. I think he throws for over 4,000. He goes 30, 35. I think he runs away with Rookie of the Year. And what? I'd say maybe 10 to 12 interceptions.
And that's what I was going to ask you. What do you think it's going to be on the interception? I think he's going to that's going to go up. I think it does for most rookie quarterbacks. Yeah, you're going to have those few that come in and just, really take care of the ball. But I think his interception count will go up for sure.
Yeah, and then if you look at the rushing stats, right, he had 399 the year before, his first year as quarterback at LSU. He had 7 rushing touchdowns in 2018. And then in 2019, he had 368 yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. So if you factor in 30 to 35 touchdowns, this is rookie rankings, 30 to 35 touchdowns. There's no way. I think Joe Burrow ends up in the top 7. Joe Burrow will be at quarterback 7 or higher this year. I'm going to bookmark it. You can write it down. And this is the date. I've been high on Joe Burrow since September. I love the kid. I think he's super talented. I think that everybody keeps questioning. Look, we're talking fantasy here. Football wise, first, he's uber talented. That's not even a question. Football wise, I don't care if the Bengals go 0-16. You know what I mean? I don't care. We're talking fantasy right now. Joe Burrow's still going to throw 30 to 35 touchdowns. He's still going to have maybe 4 to 6 rushing touchdowns, a couple hundred yards on the ground. That to me warrants him being number 2, borderline number 1, in my opinion. I teeter-totter back and forth after it. I'll let you talk Burrow before I go a little bit more on Dobbins.
Yeah. So I was curious. So I pulled up Kyler Murray's stats. Obviously, different size, right? Different abilities. I think Kyler Murray, Burrow can run. We've said it, right? But I think Kyler Murray's a little bit better on the running game. But I was looking at it here. Last year, Kyler Murray, 3,722 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He ran the ball for 544 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. So I think we could definitely see something along those lines. I think the passing yards are going to go up a little bit higher for Burrow. I think they're going to really, really throw that ball. I mean, with a healthy A.J. Green, a Tyler Boyd, a T. Higgins, right? I think it's going to happen. Joe Mixon out of the backfield. I think he's going to definitely see higher passing yards, his first year out there. But I think that interception count, is going to be very similar to what we saw from Murray. I think it's going to be into that 10 to 14 range. Yep. I think, and I think what's going to get Burrow into trouble is what gets most rookie quarterbacks into trouble. And especially because he's so confident, right? He is so confident in himself that I think he's going to try and fit into those tighter windows and realize that these safeties, these linebackers, even these corners, right? Yeah, he played in the SEC against some top-notch defensive players, but now you've got a whole entire defense, you know what I mean, that's built differently. So I think the interception count goes up, but I still think we see a phenomenal season from him. I think we see high passing yards. I would agree. I'm going to say, he's probably going to go within that 28 to 32 passing touchdowns, I would say. But I could see 10 to 14 interceptions, and I think he gets some rushing touchdowns sprinkled in there as well. So I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. I wouldn't be shocked if he is that rookie of the year. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what Cincinnati does. I think they still need to shore up the offensive line a little bit more. I know that was definitely a concern. And that's why a lot of people, not to go to Joe Mixon per se, but were a little bit lower on him, just for the simple fact that he didn't have much production, but he was still able to produce, at a high enough level. But I love Joe Burrow still. Obviously, I think they're building something good there. There's just still some other pieces they got to shore up.
Yeah, and then of course on the fantasy aspect, it's light years away. It's a phenomenal thing. So the few things of why I put Dobbins number 1. It's the perfect offense. Perfect offense. They run the ball a lot. Okay, So even looking at it last year, Ingram had 202 carries, 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. Okay, 26 catches, 247. 5 touchdowns. So he had 15 total touchdowns last year. All right, let's say Mark Ingram stays in the offense, still produces those stats, okay? Gus Edwards, the number 2 back on the team, had 133 carries, 711 yards last year, okay? And then, of course, he only had the 2 touchdowns. But I think if you combined, even if you say, let's just say he touches the ball 150 times next year, that's still going to be a lot of value for Dobbins in this offense. And I do think that as the season progresses, I do think Dobbins can start eating away at Ingram's carries. He's an insane talent. This offense is perfect for Dobbins. It's perfect because they're going to run the ball. I mean, obviously you have Lamar, you've got the RPO, and the thing about Dobbins is he's a better pass catcher than Ingram right off the bat, right? This is probably one of the scarier 1-2 punches in all football, Ingram and Dobbins, right? You have it kind of is reminiscent of Kamara. I'm not comparing to Kamara. Kamara is more athletic than Dobbins is.
Real quick, I'm not trying to interrupt. Did you see the video of Kamara and his training? He had like the bar with those kettle. My God.
Yeah.
That's insane. Anyway, go ahead.
It was pretty.
It's crazy.
It was pretty insane. But for me, I just feel like, look at that. I mean, 711 yards. Even if you get 800 yards and 5 or 6 touchdowns out of Dobbins this year, you'll be very happy. But I think after this year, you could look at him next year being the number 1 back, getting 1,000 yards consistently. He's going to catch 20, 25 balls once he's the starter. I love Dobbins. I love his landing spot. I hate the Ravens as a collective whole, and I hate how good their drafts are year in, year out. It blows my mind how good they are. But this is I'm happy with my rankings outside of forgetting about Justin Jefferson. But outside of that, it happens. But where there's nobody really in round 4 through 7 that I think could maybe poach my top 20. I don't think, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would agree. As much as we both love Gandy Golden, I just think the fact that and it was said, right? It was said that small school potentially could drop. So now that the draft capital has dropped to that 4th round, do I think he can go to a team and still be a factor? Absolutely. Do I think it will boost him into that top 20 range? Probably not. Will it be 21? Maybe. You know what I mean? I can see that. Sure. But overall, I think it's going to be tough to be realistic. And that's what I always try and do, right? I love Antonio Gandy Golden. But draft capital means something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be an immediate factor, I think give him a couple weeks. And by a couple, I mean probably 6 to 8. So we're talking halfway through the season. You know what I mean? And that's even more so through your fantasy season. I think it's going to be a year 2 and on type of thing at this point. And that's even assuming he goes round 4. If he starts falling to that 5, 6, 7, then we really have to start thinking about it, because players will hit in those rounds. They will, but the likelihood of it is much, much less. So I'd agree with you. Players that are still left, even like a LaMichael P. Ryan, love him. But I think unless he just gets some absolute if he were to go to Miami,
that's a great landing spot.
Maybe, right? Maybe I could see him jumping into that top 20. I don't see him going above 15, but I could see him maybe going to the top 20 because of landing spot. But overall, I think my top 20 for sure, potentially even 24, is pretty set, unless I, move, I don't know, just for a namesake. Let's say I move Vaughn up to 7 and such, whatever, right? And that's just me picking a name. But I think overall it's pretty set. I think it's going to be tough to have a guy get drafted from the 4th and on and jump any of these guys we've already got up.
Yeah, and the thing about it is what I think is going to be interesting. Obviously, we're going to host a bunch of mock drafts over the next couple of weeks, gather some ADP for you guys. I'm pretty excited about that and kind of see where these guys kind of land. I mean, if I'm looking inside, obviously when you're doing a rookie draft, that first round, maybe you're drafting for what you need. Like in our league right now, like I wish I could, draft a quarterback. You know what I mean? I've got Rodgers who might not even be on the team next year, and then I've got Breeze who might not be on the team next year. I was kind of hoping for a quarterback and maybe 108, 109, but it's all dependent on landing spot. But at the same time, I think in rookie drafts, I think you got to take the best player available, right? And I really feel like in that first round is loaded.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you're going to get yourself a really good, talented guy in that first round. I'm shocked that you have Swift so far down.
You want to know where I have Swift?
Where's that?
You want to know?
I
have him at 29.
Whew.
I hate the landing spot that much. I love Swift. And that's why I'm saying when I go and look at it more in depth, I'm not saying, so technically, according to where I have it, he's my RB8. According to my initial feelings, landing spot and everything, right? Do I think he will be no, I still think he's a top 4 running back, right? I still believe that.
Even at number 11, he's my RB6. So
I just hate the landing spot. I hate it.
It makes sense. And that's the thing. Like for me, like ranking that 13 through 24 range was interesting. You know what I mean? There's some guys that I like a little bit more in certain landing spots, but I'm still questioning some of the landing spots as a collective whole. And for me, there's so much question heading into the season. I think that's a big thing for me as well.
And the thing is, like, just real quick about Swift, right? So I went back and looked and I said, okay, because I'll be honest. I'm not one that pays as close attention. Well, when did this coach start? Is this his guy? Is this not his guy? Whatever type of thing. So I went and looked at it. When Patricia got there was the 2018 season. Kerryon Johnson got drafted in the 2018 draft. So it's kind of like he was there and he was drafted in the second round. So really everything's kind of matching up. So that's why for me, it's just like, did something happen behind the scenes where they just don't believe in Kerryon as much? Like, I don't know. So that's just a huge question mark for me. And again, Swift is a much better talent, right? Swift is light years above Kerryon. I fully believe that. That being said, I still hate the landing spot because it just doesn't seem like they're wanting to get the running game going as much as I would like to see from a fantasy aspect. But I think he's a much better pass catcher than Kerryon, in my honest opinion. So I think Swift could make a role, right? I think he's still going to be a top guy, but initial feeling, I hate the landing spot, and I don't know. But I'm hoping with Stafford coming back, I'm hoping that that's going to boost Swift a little bit, get him a little bit more involved. I think Stafford is a better quarterback than what a lot of people give him credit for. But that offense overall, it's just a question mark to me. Just a question mark.
Yeah, I think for me,
Kenny Golladay. I love Kenny Golladay.
Oh god, Kenny Golladay is so good. Him. I think the biggest factor for me was with Swift is just the potential of Patricia being gone.
Yeah.
I think that question mark always kind of hinders you as well, but I think Swift's talent is just going to be too good for that offense.
Yeah.
Folks, do us a favor. Head on over to Twitter. Give Stoops a follow at Stoops1990. Give myself a follow at RickyValer_. I've had a lot of fun over these last couple of days. It was fun going live for almost 5 hours the other night. It was crazy. It was insane, but we had a lot of guests. You could check that out on the YouTube page, the Expand the Box Score YouTube page. Check out expandtheboxscore.com as well, where we utilize a lot of the tools. We'll probably tinker around with these rankings. We'll see, we'll be live tweeting probably or tweeting during the draft as it happens here. If you've watched with us live in the last last hour and a half here. But thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.
See y'all later.